Hello, I'm Caitlin Watkins, and this is Atticus Finch, Noble and Right. The case of Tom Robinson was one that required extraordinary sensitivity because of its especially controversial nature. Because the case was one black man's word against two white citizens, it was almost a guaranteed loss for Tom Robinson, but it needs to be fought for the sake of taking a step towards the equality of all people. The case needed to be handled with great attentiveness and also great fortitude to help the jury and onlookers understand the severity of the blatant racism taking place in Macomb County. Atticus was the best lawyer for the case because of his kind nature, but also his experience, profound knowledge, and willingness to fight for justice. Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird is the exemplar of respect, morality, and reason, as evidenced by his undertaking and conduct of the Tom Robinson case. The most obvious character trait of Atticus Finch through To Kill a Mockingbird is his outstanding respect for others despite what they say or do about him or his family. Chapter after chapter, Atticus not only shows all people respect, but also requires his children to. An example of this is when Atticus and Calpurnia demanded Jem to respect all her classmates and her teachers in school, whether she agreed with them or not. Therefore, Judge Taylor appointed Atticus Tom's case, because he knew that Atticus was the only man in Macomb that could handle the hatred and hostility thrown at him during and after the trial. Both Atticus and Judge Taylor knew before the trial took place that the townspeople were going to become irrational and harsh, but they both realized the importance of the case and what it meant to the future of equality. Atticus's respect towards others was not only important in handling the townsfolk, but also while addressing the Ewell family. The Ewells were not a highly respected family in Macomb County because of their state of living and failure to provide for themselves, as well as their lack of proper education. Because of their lack of respect from others, they easily took offense to things said to them or about them that were not offensive. This is evidenced by Mayella Ewell becoming defensive to Atticus, calling her Miss Mayella. In this circumstance, however, Atticus remained calm and let Judge Taylor simply explain to Mayella that he was not trying to be disrespectful, and therefore gained the respect from the jury. After the trial, when Mr. Ewell approaches Atticus and threatens his life, Atticus stays surprisingly calm and respectful and told Mr. Ewell that he is simply too old to fight. The second character trait that made Atticus worthy and noble for accepting the Tom Robinson case is his sense of morality. Atticus has had an excellent awareness of right and wrong, making him the right man to take on this case and justified even more the reason for him to take it. Atticus knew that it was not fair for an innocent man to be sentenced to death only because of the lies of a white family. Unfortunately, the pride of those on the jury took heed over their morality. In Macomb County, to support the case of a black man was a shameful and contemptible thing to do. This is what guaranteed the loss of Tom Robinson's case, and it's what made Atticus so noble for accepting it. Atticus took the case despite what the people in the county thought of him, and unlike everybody else, he stood by what he believed in and was willing to argue it in court. It was noble for Atticus to take on the case because even though he knew that he was going to lose, he took it because he knew that even the loss would be a small step in the right direction for equality of black people. Atticus made aware to everybody in the courtroom that Tom was being wrongly accused. Atticus making aware to everybody in the courtroom that Tom was wrongly accused is what made everybody realize how unjust their social system was and that something needed to change. When the case was over and the jury took an especially long time to decide, that is when Atticus knew for sure that taking the case was the right decision and that it was worth it despite the loss. The third character trait that made Atticus the proper man for the case and noble for being the one to take it is his reasoning. It did not take a whole lot of Atticus's reasoning for him to understand the hate and attacks that would go on during the case. But he was noble and decided to fight for Tom Robinson anyway. Atticus is an extremely reasonable man, and he used it to his advantage in the courtroom on the day of the trial. Atticus used basic reasoning in the courtroom to reach out to all the onlookers and help them to understand what they may have missed. The biggest point that Atticus used in the courtroom is that of Tom's disability and his arm. When Atticus called Mr. Ewell to the stand, he asked him simply if he could write his name, and then asked him to demonstrate, exposing to the jury that Mr. Ewell is left-handed. Atticus then showed the jury that Mayella's bruises were primarily on the right side of her face, showing that there was no way that Tom could have caused them since he could not use his left hand since he was a young boy. He also considered that Mr. Ewell is a known town drunk, so he proposed to the jury that Mr. Ewell was drunk when he caught Mayella assaulting Tom. No matter the points that Atticus fought for and proved, there was no way that he was going to win the case, making him noble for accepting it. Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird was an extremely respectful, moral, and reasonable man. This can be seen through the conduct throughout the Tom Robinson trial. Atticus was eloquent in his acceptance and passion for the Tom Robinson case because of his need for equality among the community. Atticus fought hard for both Tom Robinson and the entire Black community, but the result was only a baby step toward equality. Thank you.